aggregate what they can do with PST effects. And we talk about
Welcome back to the Black Geek channel. My name is Brett Bonner, and I'll be your tour guide for today. On today, we are looking at the books that I read this year. I didn't start back to reading till late September, low-key. So those are the books that I did finish, and to include about 4 Frida McFadden audiobooks. In this pile, we have a list of books that I plan to finish before the year is out. I'm currently reading Jasmine Ward's Let Us Descend, and I have these 4. These are the list of books that I want to finish strong with. This pile of books right here are a short list of books that I plan to read in the winter months of 2025. But before I get into all of that, I want to say so long to the 11 people that unsubscribed to my channel, and thank you very much to the 10,000 who did. Okay, that's cap. I don't have 10,000 subscribers. That is my goal. I do want 10,000 subscribers, so, help your boy out. Help me get there. I want 10,000 people who comment and read along with me and really understand. I don't care if it's just 100. I don't care if it's 50. So whatever the number, it really doesn't matter. What matters is me and my commitment to reading, to literature, to literacy. It's the end of 2024, and I am thankful to have read a bunch of books. But before I get to those, I'll start with the books that are currently on my Finish Strong list. Hold on. There's one that I don't have. I think I'm going to have to just stop editing so much and just let the videos lie. Stop editing. That's going to be my new thing for 2025. I'm going to stop editing. But okay, so this is what I'm currently reading right now. It's Jasmine Ward. It's Let Us Descend. It's a Oprah Book Club selection from 2023. I am halfway done with this novel, and it is early thoughts on it. It's amazing. All of the poetic nuances in this novel, it's literally like reading poetry. I shit you not. It's like reading a slightly complex poem. That's how I kind of look at this book. She is so gifted. How would you say? She is just one of the most gifted writers that I have come across, and I'm loving her book so far. It has that depth. She takes dialogue and she just owns it and reshapes it. Jasmine Ward is definitely one. And what I'm reading now, what I plan to finish today, is December 25th. It's Christmas, so Merry Christmas. Zora Neale Hurston. I got this book for like $2. Zora Neale Hurston, Their Eyes Were Watching God. I've seen the movie. I've never read the book, so that's why I grabbed it. And I was like, this is relatively short, so I definitely want to finish that in 2024. Another book, this book I picked up at the Goodwill not too long ago. I believe it was like 50 cents. To Kill a Mockingbird, Harper Lee. This book is on a banned book list in the U.S. I'm not sure when it went on. Any banned book is pretty much going to get my attention. I'll tell you just like that. Okay, so I want to finish this. I started reading Ernest Gaines' A Gathering of Old Men, and I started reading Let Us Descend by Jasmine Ward as soon as I got it. The book had reached kind of a low point, in my opinion. I felt like this book kind of hit a low point, so I wasn't as interested in the moment. It hadn't even gotten good yet, so I do plan on finishing that before the year is out. Okay, and this one. This is Patches of Fire. Here we go again with Albert French. He's one of my favorite authors, and I just happened to have read three of his fiction novels this year. Patches of Fire will make 4 of the 5 books that he's written. So this is a story of war and redemption. The author, Albert French, was in the military. I believe he was in Vietnam. He was a Marine. This was a quote about his first novel. This was Albert French's third novel. It's called Patches of Fire. The novels before that were Holly and Billy, which if you go back in my playlist, you'll find reviews on both of those. Billy being one of my favorite all-time novels. I talk about it a lot. If you haven't read it, definitely a good book recommendation for you. But this being Albert French's third novel, and I've already read his fourth novel. Yeah, so wait a minute, what's his other novel? It was, where is it? My brain is literally just stiff right now. So now I have to, okay, I'm slow. Okay, here it is right here. I Can't Wait on God. I was like, where is that book? Okay, so Patches of Fire, Story of War and Redemption. This is Albert French's third novel. He wrote Billy. He wrote Holly. Billy was such a great novel. Every novel after Billy was a lot less popular. He didn't gain popularity. He lost popularity. Even on his third novel, what he put on the back of this novel, this third novel, are the praise that he received for his first 2 novels. So maybe no one said it was a great novel. Maybe he couldn't get anyone to say it was a great novel. But Time magazine said maybe the best first novel by a black author since Toni Morrison's The Bluest Eye. So that was a heck of a lot of praise. So I'm definitely looking forward to finishing off Patches of Fire. Those are the books that I plan to finish by the end of the year. I don't have to finish them all, but we're talking 5 books, and I'm just going to be finished with 1 today, 1 tomorrow. So we'll see how that works out. But anyway, I just get all off into a tangent sometimes, and it's not, I just like doing this. I like discussing books, man. It's cool. Don't mind me. Just let's just keep going. Okay. This book is on my short list by Wallace Thurman called The Blacker the Berry. Now, I started on this book and I didn't get all the way through. Wallace Thurman was born in 1902, so that's like turn of the century. So I had to keep that in mind, how old this work is. How old these pages are tearing, the binder is torn. This is a very old book. It's about a woman named Emma Lou in the 1920s trying to navigate through the world, being very, very dark skinned in a white, light skinned world. So I've gotten a portion of the way through it. So I am going to finish this book. It's nothing wrong with this book per se. First of all, the text, I do have trouble reading very small text, and that's what it is. It does have small text. This is a book that's we're gonna see. This is We Need to Talk About Kevin by Lionel Shriver. This is a book about 2 parents trying to make sense of their 16-year-old son Kevin, who shoots up the school, kills kids, kills teachers, kills staff. And the whole book is a series of letters that they send back and forth concerning Kevin. We'll see. It seemed interesting when I picked it up, and we're gonna see. It said something about it being a major motion picture. We'll see. We have Emma Rio's novel, Graveyard Shift. This was a book that I picked up. I was interested, and my son was interested in it, and it's a very, very short novella. It's 126 pages, so I could probably read this. It's probably going to be, halfway done before one of my videos. Okay. This is a whopper. This is Alex Haley's book, Queen, which followed Alex Haley's book, Roots, which I do have. I have it over in the camp. Matter of fact, I'm just doing what I have to do today. Hold on one second. Let me grab that book. Okay, so when you talk about Alex Haley, you have to do it right. I have this book from 1974. This book is one of my most prized possessions, and I'll show you why in a second. Because it has my mother's signature in there. You probably have a hard time reading that, but it has my mother's signature, and I even put my little black lit geek seal on this novel that is so old and it's falling apart. I put obituaries in here like it's the Bible. Yeah, this book is almost 680 pages. We're reading to the end. I need my glasses to even see this. Oh, this is 666 pages. This is Alex Haley's novels, Roots, which is, I'm going to put this down before it turns to dust. I have to put that book down for it turn to dust. And this one, I do want to read Queen. I want to read the follow-up novel to the Roots story. It's a story of an American family brought over here. Okay, so that's it. Those are all of the books that I want to finish before the year is out, or I want them to be on the top of my list for 2025. I decided, tackling Queen is going to be a little bit difficult just because it encompasses the length of like 2 novels. So what I'll do is I'll probably break that up into different sessions and probably read something else while I'm reading that. Okay, but let's get on to the books that I finished. Okay. I guess I'll just read from one at a time. I got this little thing right here. It's a little bookshelf thing that I have. I keep a candle on it sometimes, but my brother gave it to me, and I was like, I'm gonna slide it over here because it's perfect for what I'm doing. So I'm not putting my books on the floor. Okay, so let's look at some of the books that I finished. One was Mitch Albom's The Liar, The Little Liar. This was the story of a little boy named Nico. At the time, I said it was 5 stars. It was a 5-star read. I don't know if I still believe that. At the time, I had just finished it, so I would say 4. This is definitely a 4.5 star to 5-star read. So 4.5 star to 5 star. It's about a little boy who gets deceived by a Nazi officer who tells them that their family would be safe if his family and friends would be safe if he goes over to the railroad station and convince the Jewish people to get on the trains, that it's going to take them away to a land that is profitable, that has jobs for them and new places to live, things of that nature. Well, it was actually taking them to the Auschwitz concentration camp to work them and exterminate them. So that's what that whole thing was about. And when the little boy realized he'd been deceived, he vowed never to tell the truth again. He had never told a lie in his whole life. He could never tell the truth again. So this was a very powerful book. I really enjoyed it. Speaking of heavy hitters, We have The Message by Ta-Nehisi Coates. I mean, I just love the man's name, Ta-Nehisi. It's so regal. He's such a regal, smart man. The Message was really good. This book was about just his point of view. He took trips to like the memorial in South Carolina that was a Confederate memorial. He took a trip to Africa, Senegal, and he was... And he went to, was it Palestine? I believe it was Palestine in the Middle East. But I read this book the day that it was, the day that it came out. And it wasn't an easy read. It was a little bit difficult because I had to look things up and take a lot of notes. As you can see, I had a lot of notes. So it's like, who is Bill Tillman? You know, I didn't know any of these things. So he dropped a lot of knowledge, and he kicked up a whole heap of people calling him a lot of different things, saying that in reference to the comparisons that he made of Jim Crow and the racism that's going on when between Israel and Palestine in the Middle East. So that whole thing was that's what that book was about. It was really good. Okay, so The Housemaid by Frida McFadden. This was the second novel that I read by Frida McFadden. It was an easy read. I enjoyed it. I gave it 4.5 stars, I think. 4 stars. No, I gave The Boyfriend 4 stars. I gave this one 3.5. It was good. The Housemaid, it was good. It was the novel that made her really, really popular. And I've read the Boyfriend, The Housemaid. I've listened to on Audible this year The Gift, Dead Med, The Good Son, and I believe it was and Do Not Enter. I believe that was the name of it. That one was actually free on Audible. So I read these Frida McFadden novels, and I was a third of the way into reading. There it is on my shelf. I was a third of the way into reading The Housemaid is Watching, and then I posted it on social media, and someone said, "Hey, man, hey, you didn't read the novel that immediately follows The Housemaid. You skipped the novel." I reached a point where I just could not do any more pop lit, popular fiction, pop fiction, whatever you can call it these days. I just couldn't do any more. The characters were not characters that I really related to. It's just like that mind-numbing reading that you really don't get anything out of. I guess that is ultimately the difference between pop fiction and literary fiction. So take that for what it says. Chester Himes, if he hollers, let him go. Look, Chester Himes, if he hollers, let him go. Loved it. Chester Himes, angry man. And this was the story of a black man who basically lived his life under a huge, heavy race burden. It was just every step he took, and his story is no different from a lot of other stories. This was set in the 1940s, 1946, 1947, something like that. So it was really bad. It was, and that was the time where you could work. You would probably work in the same company as white people, but you'll be put over here, or you're doing tasks that are more menial so you don't mess anything up. So it was deep into that. And one thing I noticed about Chester Himes, he tends to put black men and white women together in his novels. I mean, we're talking about during turbulent times, so it's just the way that he writes. He was like a convicted felon. He spent time in the joint. So there was a lot. I took a lot of notes on this novel, and it was just so much of it. So this novel I can relate to a lot more than I can relate to Frida McFadden novels, because I don't even think there's ever been a black person in a Frida McFadden novel that I've read thus far. And between the audiobooks and the couple of books that I actually purchased at full price, need some representation in those novels. I'll just say that and move on. This book makes me smile, man. This was Percival Everett, New York Times bestseller. Did he just win a book award? Did Percival Everett win the book award for James?
Yes, Percival Everett won the 2024 National Book Award for Fiction for his novel James. This is from usc.edu.
Congratulations, James, man. I loved everything about this book, from the cover, the feel of the cover, the actual I believe the colors, it's just so dope. And look, even on the back, I didn't notice this for a while, just like the running away. This goes back to, this book is alongside The Adventures of Huckleberry Finn. This is a retelling or a reimagining of The Adventures of Huckleberry Finn, told from the story of James, the slave, who was referred to as, most of the time, the slave. But I do love the idea of this book being told from his point of view. It was brilliant. It was a fast read. It was very entertaining. It was straightforward, and it was hilarious. It was one scene in there that just, I cannot get it out of my mind. As Huckleberry Finn and James went downriver, we're talking to Mississippi. They went downriver. They ran into these two men who were more or less con men, and they literally I don't want to tell a whole lot, but there was one scene where one of the men told James, "Say, it's brilliant, you see. We just sell old Caesar here." I think that was the name they gave him. "We just sell old Caesar here. He escapes, and we'll sell him again." And their whole plan was to just continue to sell him. Then he says, they can't kill you but once, but we can sell you a bunch of times. I was like, what the fuck? Just imagine. Can you imagine someone saying those words to you? "No, don't worry about it. We're just gonna sell you, and you gotta escape, and then we'll go downriver some more, and we'll sell you again, get the money, you escape, and we just keep doing it like that. Yeah, of course, if they catch you, they're gonna lynch you, but they can't kill you but once. But we can sell you a bunch of times." James, man. This is 5-star read. This is the best book I've read in 2024, and in my top 5, I believe, in my top 5. I'm gonna have to really examine that. I'll leave that where it is, because this is the book that is pretty much my number one book. I love this book. This is my second copy of this book. It's Billy by Albert French. This was Albert French's very first novel about a young boy, Billy Lee Turner, who was Billy Lee Turner was a little boy who got convicted of murder and sentenced to die by electrocution, which actually, and that indeed happened. Claude Brown wrote Man Child in the Promised Land. The author of Man Child in the Promised Land, Claude Brown, said, although I only knew Billy Lee Turner for an all too brief 214 pages, I will mourn his death for the rest of my life. That's how powerful and dramatically written this book is. All right. So, when you talk about literary fiction royalty, this is royalty to me. That was one of my favorite books of all time. Okay, I read before I get into this book, which I do have a lot to say, I want to throw another book at you. Albert French, Holly. This was the novel that came directly after Billy. I didn't read all of these books in order or intend to read them in order. I just ended up with them. I just do what I do. Holly is the story of, it was kind of like Billy. It's the story of a little white girl during the war, the second. She's engaged to a soldier that went off to war, and she's basically decided she doesn't want to marry him, and she's bored, and she lives in a shitty little town where nothing happens. And Holly meets and falls in love with Elias, who is a war veteran, black, painter with one arm. So she tells her friend, I met and I'm in love with Elias. And she's like, you ain't talking about that one-armed nigger that be down there painting in the sticks, are you? You know? Albert French and Chester Himes, they kind of have the same sense of humor. Percival Everett is right there along with that. I just call it Ernest Gaines, not as much, but racial humor. So that, of course, is going to set this whole book aflame when the local girl falls in love with the Negro. Okay. So that's what it is. While I still have other books to go. I have 1, 2, 3, 4 more books to go. So thank you for those who are still watching, bearing with me. This is the other Albert French novel, I Can't Wait on God. So this would be his fourth after Patches of Fire. Well, love Albert French's writing, but I was very much unimpressed by this novel. It took so long for me to get this novel. So when I get it, it's just like, they commit a crime, they escape, they get on a run, and that's it. It didn't have enough. The plot was not cohesive, and the ending was terrible. I'll say that the ending was terrible. Definitely, one thing I noticed is that each novel mentions Billy, which is because it was an amazing book. And it's all, so it makes me feel like he's just really trying to relight the flame that was lit with his early work. Okay. Zelda Lockhart, fifth born, about the fifth born child in a family who is abused, and there is a lot of pain in this novel because we're talking about physical and mental abuse, and we're talking about sexual abuse to a little girl. You know, she was basically molested by her father. It was very, very difficult read. Zelda Lockhart's novel is very, very difficult, and it was raw because we had this young girl telling the story. It's from the point of view of a young girl that's telling the story. So man, that was something. Zelda Lockhart, fifth born, for real. Man, that was raw. So Neil Hurston's, I read this year. Zora Neale Hurston's Barracoon, and this was the story of the last black cargo, the last ship, which was called the Clotilda. Anyway, the last black ship carrying Africans through the Middle Passage here. And this was after slavery had been abolished, after the official abolishment of slavery. So this was Zora Neale Hurston's interview with Cujo Lewis. He went by another name as well, but Cujo Lewis. And he tells the story of him growing up, about war in this village, how he was made a prisoner in Africa, how he was stolen and brought to the U.S. and having been enslaved and outliving everybody that he loved. It's just so powerful, and Zora Neale Hurston made it her life's work not only to produce amazing literature, but she also made it a point to document and tell stories like these. So very, very amazing. She was an amazing writer and an amazing person. You know, eyes were watching God. So I had a couple more Zora Neale Hurston novels, but man, people will borrow your stuff and never ever give it back. Okay, last book on my list. Man, for some reason, there's something about this novel that I'm not 100% sure of. Maybe I need to sage it. I might have neglected to sage this book. This is the story of Anna, who was a high school senior. Her and her privileged friends go on a senior graduation trip to Aruba. One of the kids gets killed, and it turns into a whodunit, and everyone's saving themselves, and all we're talking about a bunch of rich people. So they all start lawyering up and snatching their kids out of Aruba. And it just so happens that Anna's family doesn't have money like that. So she stays in Aruba and she gets blamed. What I love about this novel, in addition to the plot twists, and it was a little bit longer than it needed to be, and there was a lot of what I would consider to be repetition in this novel. I was hating this novel 3/4 of the way through, almost to the very end, until the last few pages, and then she just hit you with it. That's what Abigail Haas did, hit you with it. You know what I mean? She hit you with it, and you're just like, oh, I get it. So, and I hope you enjoyed this video. It was super long, but I really enjoyed spending the time with you. That's it. My cup is finished. that's it for my coffee, and that's it for my video. So I want to thank you for watching this video. If you like this video, click the like button, give it a thumbs up, and I will see you in the next video. Peace.
Create what they can do with PST effects. And we usually like the